Sierra?
Yes. Can I start it now?
Yes, please.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I would like to congratulations for the amount of the people to join our digital talk today. And it's going to be reached over 100 people. And I'm very happy that this is one of our great success. So now our meeting is officially started now. First, I would like to welcome our chairman, Mr. Florent von Tuche, and also our dear East friends, the representative of Liaoning Shenfu Demonstration Zone, Mr. Cao with his teams. Also, our key speakers from today, Mr. Markus Unterstein, Lin Kaiser, and Stefan Stampin. Distinguished guests and dearest friends, first of all, on behalf of the European Technology Chamber and the China chapter, I would like to give you my warm welcome and thank you for you participating in this digital panel. The year of 2020 has been a difficult year for the world and also for the people. Countries around the world are seeking economic recovery, while at the same time fighting against the COVID-19 pandemic. Although the world faces many challenges, but today, Europe and China have maintained close communication and exchanges, support each other and united in the fight against the epidemic. We believe that only international cooperation can cope with global challenges. This year also marked the 45th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and the EU. It is the hope that China and Europe will further strengthen interconnection and deep cooperation in trade, investment, digital economic, and other fields. China and Europe will be the two major markets that promote global development and prosperity. The two large economies will play the role of the dual engine for the recovery for the world economic. European Technology Chamber, as a registered non-profit organization and committed to help European companies to increase their competitiveness, successfully landing in the international emerging market and achieve sustainability, especially with the solid cooperation foundation with China, will play an achieved role in bridging China and European for better cooperation ahead. So China, also as the second largest economic in the world, have achieved great success in COVID-19 pandemic control and right now on a steady path to economic recovery. Many analysts said as expecting the economic in China will start a speedy recovery by the third quarter of 2020. Through this panel and also in the future events with the China chapter, we will lead the EU industries to get to know more better about China, the market, and the economic, and the opportunity for win-win progress. In doing so, we will together build a China-European Technology Center in Liaoning Shenfu Demonstration Zone, which is one of the leading innovative demonstration zone, create a great model for EU and China. It will be a remarkable cooperation between Chinese companies and European industries. Last but not least, thank you for all taking your time. And I would like to give the microphone to Mr. Florent von Tuche now. He will bring us to a deep dive about the European Technology Chamber and our Technology Center. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sierra. Maybe the host can open my screen for me so I can share my screen and start with my presentation. Wonderful. And everybody should be able to see my screen now. So From my side, first of all, welcome to this digital panel about China's economic rise and will it save EU industries. I'm happy to be here today and give a short presentation. I've structured it into 3 parts. First of all, I will give an overview about EUTech for those of you who don't know EUTech yet. Second, I will introduce the concept of the European centers, which EUTech has started. And last but not least, I will introduce you the European Center in China in Liaoning Shenfu Demonstration Zone. And then we'll start with a panel discussion. I have around 20-25 minutes now, and I will give you a little deep dive into the European Technology Chamber. Well, the Chamber was set up in 2015 with one big vision. The vision was technology obliges. Technology obliges in order to be used for the benefits of mankind. And we believe in the Chamber that technology is the solution for many challenges. Therefore, we have generated 3 main goals. The first one, this is the competitiveness. We want to use the Chamber to make Europe more competitive. If you have on the eastern side, China was made in China 2025, and on the western side, you have America with a president who thinks that America first. Europe needs an answer, and this is technology and this is competitiveness, and we drive towards technology competitiveness. The second goal we have is sustainability. We believe that sustainability has to be reached through technology. You know, nowadays, a lot of people, young generations, they go onto the streets and they demonstrate and say, look, we want to stop people traveling, we want to reduce the way we are living, the Friday for Future, which is all great, but it doesn't work. If there's one thing the pandemic has shown us, it's that people don't want to reduce the way they're living. The same people who demonstrated before, they are going on the streets now and they demonstrate and say, we want to travel again. So sustainability can only be reached by technology. And the third goal we have is the expansion. We need European companies to go abroad, to go to countries, to go to Africa, Latin America, to China, and to be successful in those markets, because only if we are expanding, we can bring our competitiveness and our sustainability to those countries. So we in the Chamber, we believe very strongly in that. When we started, we were just a handful of people. Now we are Europe's largest technology organization. We have right now 1,800 so-called advocates, which are members. These are all companies who have the same feeling and to live by these 3 goals. Let me go into a short deep dive, first into competitiveness. So what do we do? First of all, we have in competitiveness, we have 3 major fields. We have life science, urban tech, and industry. And in those 3 major fields, we have 18 tech councils. 18 tech councils. You can see them here on the screen. And those tech councils are very important because they are the think tanks of the Chamber. And each tech council has its own chair. We have people working there, and we try to make the work a little bit better. And we do that by having this journey to competitiveness. So first of all, we try to help Europe to make the right decisions. That's where each tech council launches its position papers every year. Then we have something called the white papers, where we try to strengthen Europe's innovation, and we have a lot of toolboxes. Later on, I will introduce you a little bit more the toolboxes we have. And then last but not least, we have matching. We bring together companies. We bring together companies to match tech to tech, tech to cash, tech to markets, and tech to client. So these are the 3 major parts under competitiveness. Then we have the sustainability. And under sustainability, we believe very strongly in the SDGs, and we want to use technologies to solve the SDGs. So how do we do that? There's a little slide from us. On the left-hand side, you can see the 17 SDGs, and on the right-hand side, you can see the 18 tech councils of the European Technology Chamber. So each tech council thinks about what they can do in order to solve the SDGs or to reach the SDGs. And we're working together very closely with the United Nations. We work together with the European Union in order to find answers, technology answers for that. And the third goal is the expansion. As you know, expansion for us has 2 fields. First, it's companies expanding around Europe. So currently we have 4 chapters. Each chapter has its own board. Each chapter has its own secretary general. In Europe, those 4 chapters are Great Britain, Germany, Benelux, and Switzerland. And we help companies to interact into these countries. But we also have the international chapters. So the international chapters, we have Latin America, Africa, Middle East, Western and Central Asia, and of course, Greater China. And what do? We make a journey to those markets. So we bring companies to those markets. As a first step, we try to help the companies to experience the market. So what we want is them to understand the opportunities, but also the challenges of these markets. And therefore we have the local chapters. And in the local chapters, they can exchange their ideas about the challenges and opportunities. As a second step, we help the company on their strategic business preparation. So we help them for feasibility studies, for business plans, and to find the right business opportunities. When I say we, it's the chamber. We are a non-profit organization, so we normally have friends there. We have consultants, we have market consultants who do that, and we connect you to the right people. And then last not least, we have something called the European Centers. And that's what it's today about. The centers always consists on incubators, innovation centers, and startup factories. And later I will tell you a bit more about that. Before I come there, we always recommend companies an 8-step approach. If you have questions to these 8 steps, let us know. We are happy to explain to you why. It goes from the experience in the market to the initial decision to enter, over an analysis, and then obviously the opportunity. Business opportunity is crucial because only if you have a real opportunity, you can write your business plan, and then it's set up of the entity, the startup team, and the scale-up. So let me talk 2 minutes about the structure and the tools of EUTEC. So the EUTEC structure, as you've seen before, we divided into chapters, regional entities, into commission, which are theme-based bodies, and into tech councils, which are technology-based entities. We have 12 chapters, 8 commissions, 18 tech councils, and each chapter currently has 7 board members, the same for commissions, always 7 commissioners, and for the tech councils, there are 3 councillors. All those people are people who have executive positions in their companies, who are members. The companies are members in the chamber, so-called advocates, and they spend their time in making the chamber growing and helping us to reach our goals. Apart from this, we have professionals. These are the fully employed people. These are the secretary generals, the directors, and they help us in order to do our work the right way. I mentioned before the toolboxes. So the toolboxes is something which we give to hand to every of our advocates. So for each advocate, we produce a tech flash to showcase the technology, to bring it online, to bring it out to the world. It's something we do for every advocate. It's free of charge. And we believe that this way we can strengthen the European technologies. We do a lot of events. Today's event is one event with digital talks, digital panels, but we also do physical events. We have round tables and breakfast talks and all that. I'll show you some pictures later on. Then we have publications, white papers, position papers. Our advocates, normally they have a specific technology, and if they want to influence a little bit on the government, we write position papers. And then we have the matchings where we bring tech to tech, tech to cash, tech to clients, and obviously tech to markets. And our delegation trips. Delegation trips to China, to Africa, to Latin America, to many regions in the world. Then the business tools, for example, the European centers, and the financing, factory finance, startup support, grants, many different things. All that we are able to provide to the members free of charge, thanks to our strong supporters we have. Here is a short impression about an event before Corona, obviously, that was held in Nuremberg. And it's normally reduced to 50 people. So we like to be small scale, but then we have also our big events, our summits. That was in Munich, 500 people. We had a governor from a Chinese province, this was Liaoning there. We had great discussions, great talks, and we bring people together. And then we have our beautiful delegations. I strongly recommend you to join one of our delegations around the world, maybe to China next time. And during the delegations, we always have physical events where we always have around 300, 400 business partners where we try to connect and help our members to do better business. Yeah, that was the first part. Let me start with the second part, the European Center concept. So the European Center concept is based on 3 pillars: incubator, innovation center, and startup factory. And later on, I will show you our incubator, which is just right now under construction in Zhenfu. So you will see the construction site and we'll see the interims office we have, then the innovation center and the startup factory. So what does this mean? So an incubator for us is an office center. It's a service center in order to help you to land in the region under reduced costs. For example, in our China center, you can get up to 2 years free of charge rent. If you're a member, we support you and we support you to land. And we also provide a lot of services so you can keep your team small. The services inside we provide are normally called our essentials. Finance services, training services, marketing, HR, legal services, a lot of these things. I myself, I was sent by our family office, the Tucher Group, I was sent to China for 10 years. I spent from 2005 to 2015 in China, and I built quite a nice company there. And I know how difficult the essentials are. So if I can give you one recommendation, wherever you go, try to get rid of those services and outsource those. And with our centers, our European centers, which we are building around the world, we hope that we can give you a hand and solve these issues for you. And then there's Innovation Center. The Innovation Center is a meeting point, an exchange platform where you can showcase your products and meet your business partners and close your deals. So this is part of the European Center. You can see here, people meeting, people do networking, and that's what this center is about. And the third part of the European Center is always our startup factory. So in Zhenfu, we also have a lot of factory space. And if you need to do cost-effective assembly, if you need to do after-sale, customization, or large-scale production, that's the best and most cost-effective ways in order to enter a market. Not only China, but any market in the world. I'm strong convinced about this. And the last part about this European Center in general, I want to show you is our virtual European Center. We will go live in December 2020. So 4 months from now, we will go live, and all our members will have a virtual permanent exhibition space. And we're working very closely with the different organizations, with the AHK, the German trade organizations, the different European trade organizations, and we'll make many, many exhibitions all in digital form. So what we have in a physical form, we have a digital twin, our virtual European Center. So welcome us, anybody who wants to join, let us know, joining our going live in December. Yeah. After this short deep dive, let me go into the European Center in China and let me explain a bit about this project. But first of all, why China? When I decided for China in 2005 to go there for our family office, we decided for that as a family office because China was about 3 things: industrialization, urbanization, and evolving middle class. And it's still the same. If you look at this map, you can see the GDP of the provinces of China compared to the GDP of countries. And you can realize that when you make the decision to enter China, you're just not entering one single market. You're entering a union of markets, which each one has a GDP of a country, which means if you think about going to any market in the world, this is great, expand, but China is a must on your list. So, for example, we are talking about the Liaoning province today. That's the GDP of Netherlands. Or if you look at Guangdong, it's the GDP of Spain. You have the GDP of Russia, Canada, Denmark. All this you have in just one country. And then there's this amazing urbanization. Urbanization in China means that there's another 350 million people moving into Chinese cities in the next 15 years. This is the amount of people who are living in the United States. So if you travel from the East Coast to the West Coast of the United States, and you see all these shopping malls, all the apartments, all the office space, All that is going to be built again in China in just 15 years. So if you think about that, you will see what the consumption is going to be. And talking about the consumption, let's look a bit about the growing middle class. Here you can see the beautiful line here, which is China. And here you see Western Europe and the USA. And by the year 2030, the GDP of China will be bigger. The GDP of the middle class to spend, so the middle class spending, will be bigger than the one of Western Europe or USA. And by 2050, it will be bigger than the USA and Europe combined. So China is going to be the single largest market. And if China right now for you is an important market, wait until 2050. It's definitely going to be the biggest market. And that's why I'm so happy that now I can show you our center, the EUTech Center, the European Center in Liaoning, Shenfu Demonstration Zone. That's a building which is under construction right now. We have 17,000 square meter office space for European companies, for our members, to move in and to become successful. And what I showed you just before in the theory is here right now under construction. And let us know if you want to join. Here you see our beautiful construction site. It's moving ahead full steam. It will be finished by 2022. But don't worry, we already have office space there. So we already have some interims office space, which we can use. But in 2022, our center will be fully ready. So where is this Liaoning Shenfu Demonstration Zone? Let me just help you a little bit. You see the red dot on the map? That's Liaoning. And if you want to understand Liaoning is one of the old industrial areas, and it's all about industrial upgrading there right now. And it's central for the Belt and Road Initiative and for China 2025 strategy. So we've chosen this location because we believe it's a perfect location for European industries to generate a sort of win-win cooperation, and which gives you a mixture of market access, very strong government support, and let's say reasonable priced labor, which in some areas of China is also not so easy to find anymore. You have very well educated, highly skilled labor in Shenfu, and at the same time you have a fair price. So the detailed location you can see here, it's on the map. It's where this little red star is. It's right in Shenfu. It's between Shenyang. The Shen from Shenfu comes from Shenyang, and the Fu in Shenfu comes from Fushun. So it's between Shenyang and Fushun. It's only 20 kilometers away from the Shenyang airport, which you can take direct flights. I used to travel to Shenyang when I lived in China nearly every week. So I know the airport very well. I think it's next to Munich Airport, my most traveled airport. So it's a fantastic location. It's a very international airport. And our first phase, which is this European Center, is under construction. We will have the incubator coming up. We will have our startup factories coming up. So I'm very excited. And obviously, we don't want to wait until the whole thing is built. That's why we made a little deal with the government. And the government is very supportive for us. And that's why they gave us an interims office. So that's our interims office space. It's also very nice. And that's where currently we and many of our members already are situated. The first 2 years is obviously for free, as in most of our European centers. Sometimes we can't do that, but in most centers it's this way. And we are happy if you guys want to join us. We will make a delegation end of this year, I think in November. I'm sure Sierra knows better about that. There will be a delegation coming up. If you want to join the delegation, let us know. Later on, we will have a short poll. We will ask you if you want to join EUTech, if you want to join a delegation, also if you want to join our centers. So it's a great project of EUTech. I'm very happy that we can reach it, and I want to say thank you so much to Liaoning Shenfu government, and obviously to our China chapter and Sierra for our great support. Thank you so much, and hereby I hand over my screen and give it back to the digital panel.
Thank you. Thank you, Florian. And I think this is really very, very important part. And then we really learn a lot from your deep dive about our chamber, and also our technology center. Now we will turn to our digital panel, and we will have Mr. Stefan Stampin and Markus Unterstein, also Lynn Kaiser. I'm sure Stefan Stampin will give you a deep and also very, very good introduction about the next panel. Thank you.
Stefan, your micro is silent.
Here we go. So I restart. Thank you very much. You can hear me now, right? To check. Perfect. So thank you very much, Sierra. Thank you, Florian, for the introduction. First of all, I would like to welcome all the participants of today's digital panel. Second of all, of course, it's a great pleasure for me to have two people today on the panel who have experienced already a lot of things in terms of business, in terms of China. So thank you very much, Lynn Kaiser, for being here today. Thank you very much, Markus Unterstein, for taking the time to have this panel together. My name is Stefan Stempja. I'm the board member, I'm one of the board members of the European Technology Chamber, and I'm going to be the moderator of the panel today. So let me start right away with a short introduction of our two panelists today, and excuse me for reading it up, but I think that's the best and the most quickest way I can do. So I will start with Lynn Kaiser. Lynn Kaiser is a German technology entrepreneur. He is the CEO of Hypergenic, a software company pioneering AI-driven design for the future of manufacturing. Lynn's entrepreneurial journey stretches for more than 25 years. In the 1990s, he helped disrupt the world of industrial control systems with PC technology. In the 2000s, Lynn created his next company called Iridas. And for a decade, Iridas helped transform the global film industry from analog to digital through high-speed image processing technology. Iridas was acquired by Adobe, everyone knows, in 2011, and for 3 years, he held the position of director of engineering at Adobe. In 2014, Lynn left Adobe to build Hypergenic. Hypergenic's vision is to generate parts and entire machines through artificial intelligence and manufacture them in automated digital factories. Since 2015, Hypergenic has worked with partners and companies worldwide, and especially or including in China. Let me give you some words to Markus Unterstein. Markus Unterstein is the CFO of HW Hydraulics. Markus started his career in 2000 as assistant to the CEO at Gummiwerk Kraiburg GmbH in Tittmoning. Just for the people who do not know Tittmoning, I Googled it up. It's close to the Lake Chiemsee in the very south of Germany, so it's a great area. In 2002, he changed to controlling at Kraiburg TPE GmbH, where he was appointed to CFO in 2006. After 6 years, he changed in 2012 to HW Hydraulics SE in Munich as CFO and got member of the executive board there. So let me say some quick words to HW Hydraulics who do not know this company. HW Hydraulics was founded in 1949. Is a Munich-based, mid-sized, internationally active family business, which has evolved with a few decades to a global operating HW Group with 2,400 employees, a turnover in 2019 of 411 million euros, 19 subsidiaries, as well as sales partners in over 40 countries worldwide. HW has been active in China since 1995, and since last year, HW Hydraulics is producing locally in Wuxi. So let's get directly into today's subject, Markus. With the first question, so why has HAWE decided already in 1995, first by distribution partners, then with a sales office, and in 1998, if I'm right, with his proper daughter company, to go to China? What were the reasons?
I mean, hello to the panel, hello to everybody. I mean, China is not since today the world's biggest growing market, especially in the hydraulics. And I was very proud to see a concrete pump on one of the slides of Florian. So it's a very big growing market. Technology is very, very important. Meanwhile, also for the Chinese manufacturers. And yeah, we were one of the first ones stepping in the Chinese markets. And I think this is the reason why over 1/3 of our total revenue of the company, meanwhile, is made in China. And the percentage in 2020 will increase because China is a little bit growing, but all the other countries in the world are decreasing because of the coronavirus. And this is for us at the moment one of the most important anchors in order income, in filling our capacities, and at the end in the safety of our jobs and ensure our jobs here in Germany, in Bavaria.
Okay. Lynn, according to you, is it a must today for a tech company to be, or at least to think very concretely, to be in China, and if so, why?
Yeah, thank you, Stefan, first of all, for inviting me to the panel. I think it's absolutely essential to be in China. I mean, Florian mentioned that China obviously is a growing market, and the middle class consume is going to go up significantly. But what is more, besides being a great market, it is also a great pool for brain power. If you look back like 20 years, China was the cheap manufacturing hub of the world. Today, it is a hub where a lot of the specialists are who produce today's products. Tim Cook said a couple of years ago that China is the only place in the world where you can produce an iPhone. So it's not about it being the cheapest place to produce an iPhone. You actually have the skills there, and this is true for the digital world in general. And so I think it's absolutely essential. In today's world, I mean, Florian talked a lot about the Sustainable Development Goals and how we need to use technology to solve some of the world's greatest challenges. And we need all the brains in the world to work on this in parallel. And so as a company, you cannot afford to not tap into this brain pool. But as humanity, we can also we can't afford to block out certain regions. And one of the things that I'm a little bit worried about, or actually greatly worried about right now, is that because of political maneuvering, we're starting to build up fences again when we actually have a pretty global world, and we see a lot of global problems. COVID has also shown to us that we can learn from the regions where these problems occur first, and in this case it was China, and inform our decisions. So it's really no longer a world where you can say, yeah, Europe is doing something, the United States is doing something, Africa is doing something, and China is doing their own thing. We all have to work together, and this is completely true also for the companies.
Thanks. I would elaborate on that a little bit later when we talk about cooperation. But let me ask a second question then directly to you, and I'll be in concrete concerning Hypergenic. So what was the reason, or why did you decide as CEO for Hypergenic to do business with China?
I mean, it started with the markets, right? I mean, some of the customers that we work with, some of the largest companies are actually in China, and some of the most innovative companies. So it's logical. But I have to say, also because of because my image of China was very different than how I eventually experienced it. It was fundamentally not until I actually traveled there that I realized how concrete and important it is to actually be there as a company. I mean, it always was in the back of my head as, yeah, this is something we should do someday. I mean, we're a startup company. We're 5 years old, so it's not like it's an easy decision, where to focus your resources. But after my first travels to China, first for the World Economic Forum meeting a couple of years ago, it became very clear that it is much more concrete and also to a certain extent much easier than I thought it would be. Frankly, culturally, we are much closer to some of the Chinese entrepreneurs than we are to some of the entrepreneurs in the rest of the world. I found Chinese entrepreneurs who think and act a lot more like German entrepreneurs, for example. So very reliable, very concrete, but also extremely fast. This is actually quite a difference to a European speed.
Very interesting point. Great, thanks. What I would like to do with both of you now is to have a closer look on, and we already discussed a little bit, in some sentences both of you mentioned, but let's go a little bit deeper into what opportunities exist for, and I say deliberately, tech companies, because we are a technology chamber. So what opportunities exist for tech companies in China? And of course, let's discuss a little bit also about the challenges that we have to expect, or that a business company has to expect. So Markus, you are a finance guy, right? And you love working with numbers, I suppose. You already mentioned a little bit some figures you gave to us, but let me ask you that question. How about if Harvey weren't in China these days? Maybe you can again go a little bit and give us some more insights, as much as you can, of course, about some figures, about some strategies, about what would be the case if you weren't in China these days or in the near future.
Okay, this is a difficult question, because I do not know the situation if we would not have go to China, but I try my very best. So as you already mentioned in the beginning, Stefan, we started with let me say, not only assembling in China. We are assembling in China things since years. But we decided to start with an own production as well in Wuxi last year, and we will increase our capacities in Wuxi very much within the next couple of years. What is the reason for that, or what is the strategy? Chinese companies, they acquired in the past a lot of European technology companies, or even market leaders in the relevant sectors. I think you all know the examples, KUKA and so on, or Putzmeister for the concrete pumps. So they were very ambitious to get the technology, and they orientated on the market leaders. So therefore, this changes now a little bit. This is our experience. The content of made in China is getting more and more important for Chinese companies. So made in Germany was in the past, of course, it was a predicate. So made in China, everybody said best technology, world leaders, and so on. But the local content is increasing more and more, and therefore for us there is no real other option to build up now more local content and build up or increase the capacities in the production in China. So just in a short overview.
And because I mentioned opportunities, but as always there are some challenges. Do you have some, maybe 2, 3 concrete challenges you were facing, you as HW Hydraulics, in this China journey?
Yes, of course, there are a lot, but for us, let me say not the challenges, the success factors were to work with local people, so local management. Of course, you can bring over some experts to transfer know-how and so on and so on. But you will be most successful if you have a local management. Then you have to have the best quality what you have, and quality is meanwhile not really where you have to compare your products to others. Quality is selbstverständlich. So these were some of the challenges we have to do. And also it is very important to have long-term relationship with the people, and you have to trust them. If you do not trust them, you will not be successful in China.
Okay, great. Lynn, let me ask you more or less the same question. So what have been your concrete challenges when entering or doing business in China? And Marcus said success factors. So I mean, what helped you, or what is helping you at the moment to succeed in what you're doing?
I will sound like an echo a bit to what Marcus said. I mean, a lot of the challenges are quite known. I mean, for example, it's just a pain to communicate over the internet, across the Great Firewall of China. So, this slows down a lot of things, you find out that your website is not reachable in China, or that nobody knows about you in China because the search engines in China have like completely different context than the search engines in the West. And so, this is stuff that you have to deal with, and this is relatively specific to China. Now, the other challenges, I would not say that they are actually different than any other country in the world. So a lot of people, are scared to go into China because they think about intellectual property rights, and they think of, a very aggressive strategy to move the country ahead, through acquisition of knowledge and acquisition of companies, etc. But this is true for all places in the world. I mean, you could say the same thing about the United States. If I travel to the United States, I have to actually think of that the border guards will actually copy all the stuff off my laptop. A lot of people don't know that. So just be diligent. I mean, I think Europe is a fantastic place to do business because we don't have to deal with these things. But for every other place in the world, we have geopolitics, we have aggressive strategies to acquire knowledge, etc. And you have to be aware of it. But I would actually say, these days, it's probably easier to do this in China than, for example, in the United States. So one thing where I would like to echo what Marcus has said, it's absolutely critical to have Chinese people on the ground, who do stuff for you. So again, I can just say, you have to travel there, you have to work with people, you have to build up trust with people in both ways. Guanxi, it's the word for connection, in relationships in China. It's one of the absolute critical things. Again, I think this is true for almost all places in the world, but because a lot of people are hesitant to go to China, I can just say, this is one of the most important parts of it. And then, find the right people to actually build up your businesses, and then you will also not, I mean, some of these challenges will just go away because the local people will actually know how to deal with it, right?
Okay, great. Sounds a little bit like, as you both said, those topics are very familiar, I think, for every company leader, for every company itself, for every startup doing business or trying to get good people, good relationships, quality in their products, in their businesses. So, okay.
I mean, just one word on that though, right? I mean, in China, we're talking about close to 1.4 billion people that all speak more or less, I mean, they write the same characters and speak very similar languages. Let's put it that way. You know, once you get to learn China, you know that the languages are a little bit different. But so it is a gigantic pool of super skilled people. I mean, there's more college graduates in China than, you know, in all of Europe, obviously, because Europe has only close to like a little bit more than a third of the size of China. So this is super important that you realize, you know, how big that pool of talent is that you can tap into, and how different the regions are, and how important it is to actually do some research. So, you know, this is where Florian's organization and the EUTech is actually playing such an important role, because it can be a little bit overwhelming once you try to get your bearings when you get into China.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah. I would like to add one topic to that what Lynn said. If somebody has doubts about, let me say, human rights in China, regulatory affairs, and so on, or this personal credit system in China, if you're a good Chinese and do good things, you'll be better rated. If you're a bad car driver, you get bad credits, and maybe you have problems in getting some loans. But this system in China was implemented in the last years. If you have a look in Germany, and all the German people who are listening now maybe know the Schufa. The Schufa collects all the data for your loans, your cell phone contracts, car leasing, and so on and so on. But do you know when it was founded? It was in the 1930s, but nobody's talking about that. So also collecting things about everybody of us, but nobody's talking about that. But we point to China about this credit system, but in Germany, nobody cares about the Schufa. Just one example.
Yeah, a lot of things, you know, that we point fingers to, you know, actually not that uncommon. I mean, there's lots of things that can be criticized, etc., and must be criticized, right? But this is true for all regions in the world, and you know, we have to be very careful that we don't single out one country, and you know, because of the singling out, forget about all the opportunities that also lie there, right? I mean, we can't. I mean, we have to. Again, I go back to my initial topic. You know, we have to collaborate globally if we want to solve global problems. And, you know, technology is an important part, and China is a really critical collaborator on that.
Let's come to the values of Europe, because I have some questions on that later on, which seem very important to me, and to get an insight also from your perspective on that. But let's stick for some more minutes on economical things. So. As I've read, is that China has already a 3.2% economic growth, right? Again, already after this COVID-19 crisis. Whilst the EU economy is expected to decrease by 7.5 in 2020. And another, I think, very striking number is that the World Bank predicts that by 2024, China will overtake the US as the world's largest economy. Now, there's a question that came up in my mind, and that question I would, of course, give to you. And it would be, what makes China so successful compared to other economies, not necessarily only Europe? I mean, really, I know you have a lot of experience in the US. Marcus, since you are CFO of a global group, I mean, I'm quite sure you have also insights in other countries. So what makes China, again, so successful compared to other economies? Maybe, Marcus, your perspective or insights on that.
I mean, China is a guided democracy, and there is one leader or one team of leadership for years ahead of the country. So this is different, very different to what we see in democracies here in Europe or also in the United States. So, and therefore, They have a strategy, and they have a strategy for different things or for different technologies in their country. And these technologies, where China sees to get the world leader or the competence leader worldwide, they bring in a lot of money to become this leader, and this is one of their most important targets to achieve this. So the long-term strategy is very, very important for us, because we know when China decides today they want to become the leader in wind turbines or whatever in renewable energies, we know this will come true. And this is very reliable to work with the Chinese and with Chinese companies.
Okay, interesting. Lynn?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of factors at play here. I mean, first of all, I mean, you have to realize, how China looked like 50 years ago, 40 years ago, very, very different country, obviously. And, they've been extremely strategic in moving 1 billion people out of poverty and building the country that you see today. And, when China played catch up with the West, for many, many years. And when you have a clear goal in front of you, you want to have the same standard of living than people in the industrialized North and the West. Then it's also easier to actually follow kind of that goal. Now, what impressed me over the last 10 years is that China is still following really clear goals. I mean, for example, with the establishment of renewable energy. If you go to any modern city in China, you see electric mobility everywhere. We're still talking about it now. Finally, it's moving. So, yes, I mean, what Marcus said. I mean, it's easier in a system where there's a lot of continuity of government. Let's put it that way. And we don't have that in the West, and there's good reasons for both sides. I think China could have not done what it has done, through a Western-style democracy in the past decades. So this is clearly one factor. The other thing is still, incredible hunger, to actually improve lives. I mean, in Europe, I mean, since the the post-war boom, we've basically been living in really, really good economic situations. But a lot of, the middle-aged to older people in China have still, experienced famines. They had not enough to eat. So they actually know, how important it is to put a lot of power and a lot of effort into economic improvement. And so, this is also something that we can learn or relearn here in the West, because I think we take a lot of things for granted because we've never really experienced tremendous hardship like the Chinese have. And so I think this is something where we have to be very careful in the West, because there's no law that says, that Europe and the United States, etc., are forever going to be, the richest countries on earth. There's a lot of indications that it's going to be the countries that have a hunger for progress, that are working very strategically towards, improvement of their lifestyle, etc. And China is really a good example for that. And just to bring it down to where the rubber hits the road, like Marcus said, it's very pleasant to work with people who have clear goals and clear milestones that they want to reach, because you can just look at it and say, okay, yeah, how do I fit in there? And how can I maybe help them shape it? And I think a lot of countries in the world should actually follow China's examples in terms of setting really clear goals and really clear visions for how the future should look like. Our vision can maybe be different from what China does, but I think in Europe and very clearly in the United States, very few people have a clear vision of where they actually want to go. And if you don't know where you want to go, then it's really hard to get somewhere.
You're already building a good bridge to my next question and next topic that I would like to elaborate a little bit more with you. and it turns around technological progress, right? Um, so what, in your opinion, and what is necessary to avoid being left behind technologically in your respective industry, right? Because we have seen now, you have talked a lot about what China is doing good, the vision, the clear strategy, financing, these type of things. But now the one thing is creating the environment being necessary, right? To to uh, to elaborate his business on a technological side. What do you think is important and very concrete on your business, right, Marcus, maybe on the hydraulics environment, and if you want to say 1-2 words, because hydraulics, I think there are a lot of people who do not really know what is hydraulics about, or what word can be used everywhere. So maybe 1-2 words on that, and then what is necessary according to you, not being left behind, and in general on the technology side.
Yeah, I mean, hydraulics is very easy. You need it everywhere to lift heavy things. Just in one sentence, and believe me, you really need a lot of hydraulics worldwide. So, but answering your question is, you have to be innovative, and you have to be always one step ahead. This is possible when you have a look in the digitalization. One buzzword for years now is the Industry 4.0 in Germany, and everybody has a different view on Industry 4.0. So what does it mean for us to be the leader, or still the leader in front of China technology? We have to invest a lot in R&D, and this means not only in R&D here coming out of Germany. We have to invest also R&D in China to meet the local demands, and to be the market leader or the technology leader in China for the local demand. This is also a goal. Not only be the market leader here in Europe or in Germany. So you have to differentiate meanwhile on China and also on Europe. And the next thing is, the electrification in China is much more developed, and here we discuss a very long term or long time. How can electrification be made or be realized in China? They do it. And this is also what Lin said a couple of minutes before. The speed in China in their achievement of goals and technology, this is really impressive. If you give the same task a team here in Europe or in Germany, and also in China, believe me, and I get or I would bet now let me say in the air, the Chinese will win. This is fact, and this we have to consider. And also, but one comment also on the production. You have to be very efficient on the production. So you can have your, let me say, your advantage here in Germany still if you invest a lot in production technology and in automation to be productive or more productive than the Chinese. This is one of the tasks we have to fulfill here in Germany. Otherwise, we will lose our advantage.
Okay. Lin, what makes you confident that you stay ahead with your technology with Hyperganic in front of technologies in that environment being developed in China or elsewhere in the world?
Well, I mean, we talk a lot about diversity, right? Also in the West, and but unfortunately, most people don't mean it. Our company, we are a real small company, but we have 8 nationalities in our company, and we have people all over the world who work for us. So if you want to take advantage of the speed of different cultures and different mindsets, why not hire them? So I don't think, it's really about European technology versus Chinese technologies versus, I don't know, in the future, African technology. It's about collaborating. And, I'm a software guy. I've been doing software for 40 years now, believe it or not. And in software, this is completely normal. I mean, you have teams all over the world and you all work together because it's frictionless. And now one of the interesting things about what we today talk about in modern manufacturing and digital manufacturing is that the actual location of where you produce object is no longer so relevant because as Marcus said, more and more factories are going to be fully automated. So you can replicate some of these factories, closer to the consumer, which is also going to help with the carbon footprint. And what we are doing is we're enabling a technology that basically allows you to work on physical products, on things, on products that you actually can touch and work with. We are working on physical products that are actually collaborated on digitally. So you in the design and engineering of it, you work digitally. And when you work digitally, it doesn't matter whether the person is in Africa or in China or here, provided you have internet connectivity, which again, is one of the challenges in China. But the point is, we work on one planet. We find talent everywhere on the planet. We need to find talent where it exists. It's completely nonsensical to think of talent as something that's regional. And so I don't think we as Europeans should even think in terms of competing with the Chinese or the US guys. We should all work together. And concretely, this means that you as a company, just what Marcus did with his company, you have to place development centers, factories, etc., all over the world and use the local talent. Now, just one word about, because Marcus talked about it for such a long time, and I agree with him. The speed in China, because of this hunger and this desire to actually improve the lives, is incredible. I mean, I was in parts of cities where people said, oh yeah, this part of the city didn't exist 2 years ago, but there's like 500,000 people living there. And, recently there was a construction project, across the road here and, down in the English Garden here in Munich, where they are talking about a tunnel. And the tunnel is going to take 10 years to build. In China, they built entire, cities in 10 years, so you can't help. I mean, yes, there are some reasons for it, like regulations. And of course, I don't want somebody to build a highway in front of my building without me having any say in it. But actually, the same is true in China. It's actually not so easy to just do something. There's also regulations. One thing that I learned is that the Chinese care a lot about their population. They care a lot about people. They actually have quite a bit of holidays. They build a lot of public parks. So they actually, I mean, if you think about where the whole system is coming from, Marx and Engels and these guys, right? It is actually putting the worker first and putting people first. And you see a lot of this, but this hunger results in a great velocity. You can really get stuff done. And yeah, I mean, look at the author's name on a lot of scientific papers. There's a lot of smart people in China. I mean, if it's really rare to find a breakthrough scientific paper where there's not a Chinese author or co-author name on it, right? So yeah, I mean, find the people wherever they are, work with them, put branch offices into various cities, all over the world, and tap into the talent.
So we heard it a lot in your answers, not only now, Lynn, what you said, but also Marcus, you said earlier. I really hear the word cooperation, collaboration, right? This is apparently a very important point to both of you, and I just can agree on that, because I think we have experienced recently in difficult ways how collaboration and cooperation and the infrastructure that is necessary to do this type of collaboration is quite difficult to get, right? So we have to invest a lot of time in that. Now, my question is of a little bit more concrete on the cooperation and collaboration side that you have experienced with Chinese partners. So the question to both of you is rather easy or rather difficult? So rather easy the cooperation with Chinese partners to collaborate, or rather difficult? Lynn, just one.
No, I would say it's surprisingly easy. I mean, yeah, I mean, once you're there, I mean, basically physically there. I mean, well, let's hope COVID goes away. But you hop on an airplane, you go to China, you meet with, I mean, ideally with the EU tech, because that's actually a great way to get introductions. But yeah, I mean, then it's fundamentally like working with a German entrepreneur. Yeah, I mean, there's in Germany we have this concept of Mittelstand, medium-sized companies, usually built by some guy 50 years ago or 30 years. Maybe the founder is still in the company, but he's like an older guy who's super proud of what he's done. So same people in China, very similar type, very reliable, very fast. So, I mean, don't go there and hold like a stupid presentation. They want to use the product immediately. They want to test it. They want to see it. They give you feedback overnight. So, I mean, in the West, you go there, you establish like, some general context, and then you let the tech guys work it out. No, they expect the CEO to demo the thing and they want to use it right away. So very fast, but very concrete. And I mean, once you overcome the connectivity problem, I mean, this is really painful. I mean, how do you send something to somebody, in terms of software, for example? How do you show them a presentation that unfortunately you hosted on YouTube, right? So these are the things. But in terms of culture, so similar to the thinking that I see here in really, I mean, it's the closest I've seen anybody to German entrepreneurs. They're a very special breed. They want something very concrete. They understand the value. They don't want to talk about stuff in random terms. Very concretely. So
let me ask. Sorry, Lynn. Let me ask Marcus also that question very quickly. Elaborate on that. So rather easy or rather difficult?
It's rather easy, and it's almost everything is said from Lynn. And what I learned is they even eat the same what we eat, just a little bit different. So also the cultural things are obviously there, but this is very nice to learn. And if you're driving or flying to China, you will be impressed what life is being there. But it is very different, and you have to be open. You have to be very reflective, and then you will have really fun. You will really have fun in China.
That is great, because that would have been now my last question, because the time is almost over, and we want to give space also for the question of our participants. So my last closing or wrapping up idea was that you give us 2-3 things, very short, please. 2-3 things that you, Lynn, and you, Marcus, advise to someone who wants to do business in China. So maybe, Marcus, 2 or 3 things that pop up in your mind. I know it's very reduced to 2-3 things, but yeah, let's try in 1 minute.
In 1 minute, okay. I will hurry up. So. Be patient, be present, then look for the right local people, accept failures, and never give up.
Okay, Lynn, 1 minute.
Yeah, get there. I mean, fly there, experience the culture, experience the people, have something concrete that you want when you go there. And find people locally. That Marcus, very, very good point. and yeah, learn a bit of the language. It's surprising. It's not that hard, and it's a great icebreaker. You know, so you know, immerse in the culture, 3,000-year-old culture. You know, a lot of interesting things to learn. You know, it's very impressive.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I mean, wow, time is flying by. 10:10. That was the landing zone that I was given, or we were given. So thank you very much for that already. I would, as Florian already mentioned before, have a very short poll that you all should see now. I can read it out quickly. We do not want to spend more than 2-3 minutes on it. Just click on, I read it out, and after the poll, then we're gonna open up the question and answer thing, and I'm gonna read out the question that you have put in our system. So please share your thoughts. Please give me the questions, and I'm more than happy to ask them to Marcus and to Lynn. So first question is, are you interested in becoming EU Tech advocate? I mean, we have heard a lot. Now, what could be possible advantages? Florian showed a lot what is happening in China over there. It's not just China. We are very active in Europe. So are you interested in becoming an EU Tech advocate? Yes or no? Second question, are you interested in joining our next China delegation, which is around end of November? The concrete detailed dates we're going to communicate anyways later on. And third question is, are you interested in a free space in this European center that you have seen earlier in terms of, you know, having this first landing hub facilitating your arriving in a foreign market, in a foreign country? So I will also check on this. All right. So for the ones who still have to think about it, I give 30 more seconds, and I think then we gotta come to our questions. All right, then let me ask the questions that I got here, and wow, a lot of questions, a lot of questions. We will try, or I will try to pick out some of them, since we do not have the time, I guess, to go through all of them. But let's start. So first question, or first point I got, I read it out to all of you. I think China will move very, very fast in the next decade, because Xi Jinping is 67 years old, and he will want to leave an ambitious mark on the history of China. Relevant or not? I give it in the panel. Lynn, Marcus.
I mean, interestingly enough, I mean, you could argue that he's already been pretty successful. So, but China has always moved fast, you know, since the last 30 years, you know, 35 years. So I don't see anybody slowing down. Xi Jinping is extremely strategic, maybe even more strategic, if this is possible, than his predecessors. And so I agree with the statement. I mean, and they're in the right position. It's not going to be so easy, because it's easy to go somewhere when you have a very clear goal, and the goal was, you know, to reach the living standard of the West. And the same thing happened with Japan in the 1980s. And you know, Japan after that fell in a little bit of a you know, almost like a depression, because they couldn't really completely figure out where to go next. You know, and so today Japan is a little bit, you know, still stuck in the 1990s. So it's interesting to see how China is going to deal with that. But, you know, I agree. I mean, this is not going to slow down. And it's, yeah, it's important also, by the way, that we Europeans speed up, because, you know, it's going to be a lot of great competition and, you know, great collaboration. But, you know, we can't be lazy and just wait, you know, for things to happen. I mean, we actually have to actively shape it.
Okay. Marcus, I think I have a good question for you there. The question is as follows: why why the costs of manufacturing are so low. So why are the costs of manufacturing so low? Is it only because of tax regulations, or is there any other reason?
If I understand the question right, is why the manufacturing costs in China are so low. And there you have to differentiate. If you have a very high labor demand to produce your products, then I agree. The manufacturing costs are then lower, significantly lower. But you also have to look in which region you are. If you have a production facility in the Shanghai area, you meanwhile have close to the same manufacturing costs as in Europe, or even in cheaper parts of Germany. If you have a look on very automized products, then the manufacturing costs are not so different, because the investments in machines you have to do are the same in Germany as in China. So maybe the facility is a little bit cheaper in China than in Germany, but all the machines have the same price, or maybe they are even a little bit more expensive in China because of customs or whatever. So you have to differentiate between these two things, and you have to decide if you have high labor or high machine costs.
Yeah. Okay. Anything to add, Lynn? Because I know that this is the great thinking you are doing, or behind your concept of hypergenic, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go to China to save costs, frankly. I mean, these days are probably over. You know, if you have high labor intensive stuff, you know, they have cheaper regions in the world to do it. I would go for China to China for skill and knowledge and market. And this is really the key part, you know. And I saw this other question, you know, so maybe this is a great segue into this. You know, to what extent do you think European people are finally aware of how advanced China is? You know, the guy who asked the question talks about BYD, you know, Chinese company winning the electric bus tender in Amsterdam, for example. And I don't think people really realize, you know, I mean, they think, you know, the iPhone is created in China, is built in China because it's cheaper to build it in China than to build somewhere else. And the answer is wrong. It's a highly automated process, and you could probably do it in other regions of the world. But the skill set of the people is really the key here. And what we are seeing here is a really, really important transition. Most people don't realize Made in Germany used to be a label to mark foreign imports into England, you know, which was back then the crown of manufacturing. And they basically said, you know, let's put this label Made in Germany on the products that come from Germany, because it's probably cheaper quality, because it's not so great. And of course, we all know what happened there. And the same is true with China. Made in China used to mean, you know, cheap plastic toys, you know, 20, 30 years ago. And now it means your iPhone. So, you know, go there for, I mean, I don't think people realize, you know, how advanced China is. And it's a great wake-up call, you know, for all the great engineers and all the great entrepreneurs in Europe and also in the United States and other regions of the world, to get off their butts and actually build the future. You know, we are competing, but we're also collaborating. And again, you know, collaboration is going to be digital, and you know, borders will play less of a role.
Okay, thanks. I have a very concrete question here from a participant. More in the future, I read it out. So how much, or the prediction that you can give for your business, for your company, how much turnover you expect to make with your company in 2050? So it's a little bit, you know, in the future, but let's put it, I mean, I think it might be quite difficult, but the idea, I guess, behind the question is how important according to you, what you see, what you experience, and Marcus, you already said earlier, I wrote it down. So 1/3, if I got it right, 1/3 of the turnover HW Hydraulics is doing is already today in China. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that question. So what do you think? I mean, what will happen with your turnover, with your business in the, over the time with China?
Yeah, 2050 is would be not a very serious guess, but for the next 3 to 5 years, the strategy is to have a higher growth, what the local growth shows, and yeah, we plan a growth around about double digit, in the low double digits in the next 3 to 5 years per year.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really even harder to answer. I mean, we are still in startup mode, and so it's highly speculative. But what I would say is, I expect probably 1/3 of our revenue to come from China, or maybe let's call it Greater Asia, and 1/3 from the United States and Europe, and probably 1/3 from Africa. Because what a lot of people forget, we're talking about China today, but what a lot of people forget is that the biggest population growth, but also the biggest industrial growth in the next couple of years is going to be in Africa. There's actually going to be a huge trend in all the northern countries for populations to decline. There was just a study that by 2065, the Chinese population will be roughly half of what it is today, and very similar numbers in Europe. Where it will explode is in Africa, and we all see lots of problems with that, but it's also a great opportunity. So I would say 1/3 China, 1/3 Europe, United States, and maybe rest of Asia, and 1/3 in Africa, with of course all the uncertainties that you have when you try to predict the future.
Very interesting that you bring in Africa. Let's have maybe a final question. According, I have an eye on the time. Let me read that out, because I think that is a good one, or it's at least something that we have already been discussing a little bit during our panel here. To what extent do you think European people are finally aware of how advanced China is? I mean, China built its own cars, planes, trains. The electric bus called the Thalys in Amsterdam was won by BYD. Is there a need, and how to better inform European business leaders about China?
Yeah, good question. I mean, one of the weaknesses of Chinese business or Chinese technology is that China is not yet on a very good level to do marketing and to bring their people in the world. They assemble the iPhone, but the marketing is done in the United States. And I think this is a very big potential for China, and also for companies like HW, which are delivering to Chinese OEMs, when they learn to bring their marketing or to bring their products to the world. And here I would like to say some words to Lynn's comment. Africa will not build up own brands for hydraulic and so on, or for concrete pumps. They will buy them from China, and this we do not have to forget. Yeah, this is my comment on this question.
Yeah, no, I mean, Marcus, I think you're completely right. It's also very easy to forget that when we are here in Europe, or when you're in the United States, you're kind of in a bubble. I mean, if you open up any news outlet, homepage, you see news from the United States, from Europe, etc. You rarely ever see anything from China. Now, if you go to Africa, you know, there's Chinese people everywhere. There's Chinese companies building infrastructure. It's like that. I mean, the future consumers are much more familiar with Chinese technology in Africa, for example, than they probably are with European technology. Yeah. And so, you know, it's important, really, also in terms of news media, etc., to get out of our bubble and see, you know, what else is out there. And you know, I think the media plays a really important role there. You know, we need to make sure that we have a more universal coverage. But I agree with you, Marcus. I mean, I think China also needs to step up to the plate. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, also not very skillful ways of presenting the country that antagonizes a lot of people. So I think this is you know, would be something that that would be important for the Chinese government, but also Chinese companies to be more aware of the impressions that they leave outside of China and how this informs, you know, also consumers, right, who want to possibly buy Chinese products. But, you know, especially with electric mobility, etc., we are going to see a surge of Chinese brands also in the hands of European consumers.
Let me ask a final question, because I think that fits good into what has been said now earlier. And the question is as follows. So, and it goes to both of you guys. Please name 3 hopeful technology sectors where Europeans and Chinese can closely collaborate to create win-win situations.
I mean, manufacturing. I mean, this is one of the, I mean, a lot of people think manufacturing is boring, but it's actually one of the fundamental technologies, you know, for almost everything. And this is one of the reasons why we with Hyperganic are in that industry. I think it's so ripe for disruption. And, you know, China is the biggest manufacturing hub in the world, you know, in the past because of cost reasons, but now increasingly because of skills, etc. And this is really, really an important industry where we can collaborate. You know, Germany is excellent in manufacturing. Europe is excellent in manufacturing in general. You know, China is great in manufacturing. If we can work together, you know, China may be a little bit more powerful in terms of digital technologies than we are in Europe. You know, we are trying to change that, you know, in Hyperganic. But so I think this is really one of the areas where I would say that is like crazy important opportunity. The other area is really mobility. You know, mobility. I mean, if you've been on a Chinese train, you know, oh my God, it's so nice. You know, 20 minutes, you're 150 kilometers away. You know, so it's like jumping on the metro. It's no comparison to what we have in Europe, and it's, I mean, the United States, we don't even have to talk about that, right?
Marcus, I think you agree at least on the manufacturing side.
I agree, and yeah, in terms of transportation, we really can learn also from the Chinese, and we have to collaborate with them. And this is one topic I would like to add. And urbanization. Chinese people know to do urbanization.
All right.
And it's actually really, I mean, a lot of the, I mean, most people don't realize it, but it's really, I mean, a lot of the city centers in China are really nice places. I mean, you're really nice to walk around, you know, and sit on a park bench, etc. So people don't realize that here. Yeah.
Great. So once again, time is running out. I'm very sorry for there have been a lot more questions in front of me. I'm sorry that we have just this limited time to get into these questions, but hopefully at least you got some of your questions that you had answered during the panel, during this Q&A session. And well, we are almost at the end. What can I say more than thank you very much, Marcus Unterstein. Thank you very much, Lynn Kaiser.
You're welcome.
It was a great pleasure to discuss with you, to have this panel. Thank you very much for being so handsome. I've seen other panelists where I had to intervene a lot more, so that was great insights into it. What you see now here is something that we as UTech would give to both of you, you see a tree certificate. I quickly explain to you and also to the participants what it's all about. And the reason we're here is that the EUTech Climate Commission has set up a partnership among its advocates, and the goal is to find certification. So in areas where the desert is taking over the land. And so what we have set up is a project or several projects in Africa, because, and really you mentioned it, I mean, Africa is becoming, or it should be in our heads also being a place where there's a lot of things to do. So EUTech is engaged a lot in Africa, and there we have projects to plant trees. And yeah, for being our guest, for being our panelists today, we would hand over, or I hand over now digitally to you this tree certificate, Marcus. 25 trees for you, 25 trees for you, Lynn, and we're gonna plant them in your name. And the very good message is that with these 50 trees already, this event that we have been holding today has been a climate neutral event now. So once again, to all the participants, thank you very much for having been here. Thank you very much for your questions. Thank you, Marcus and Lynn, for having spent the time with us. All of you have a great day. The temperature, at least here in Germany, what I've seen, will be quite nice. So already today, have a nice day and have a nice weekend. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much
for having us. Yeah.
Bye-bye then.